Author Suki Kim, where are you from?
I'm from South Korea originally. I was born and raised there, and I came to America when I was 13.
Why did you come to the States?
Oh, long story, but as all immigrants do, there's a lot of turbulence, and then I ended up in Queens, originally New York, without a word of English.
What do you do for a living today?
I'm a both novelist and a journalist, so I published a novel, a literary novel was how I began writing, and then I'm coming out with a book, actually. I've been a journalist since the first time I went into North Korea in 2002, and that's when I first went into North Korea, and then that is what I've been covering more or less.
Well, that's why we invited you on Book TV to preview your book that's coming out in the fall of 2014. Mm-hmm. Without You, There Is No Us, My Time with the Sons of North Korea's Elite. How did you get a job in North Korea? How did that come about?
It took a long time. First time I went in 2002 was by joining this pro-North Korean group. And then I went in for his Kim Jong-il's 60th birthday celebration in 2002.
And what was the process like of getting into North Korea at that point?
I'm South Korean, and I'm an American, but having a South Korean background is not exactly a blessing, because Korea is, as we know, is kind of technically still at war. So, but there are these groups. North Korea is a very organizational place. So there are these groups that get in. So that first time I went in with this pro-North Korean group, which was fascinating because I got to see I wasn't going in there as a tourist. I went there as a youth delegate, I guess posing as a youth delegate there to honor the great leader. And then I ended up writing a long feature for the New York Review of Books after that. I also went in to cover the Philharmonic when New York Philharmonic went in 2008 to Pyongyang. I went in for Harper's Magazine, so I went in as a journalist. So I've been looking for a chance to actually really see North Korea, because it's impossible to see. I have covered defectors, which you can cover from China or South Korea, people who fled. And that is one part of the story, because these are the people who left. So what about the people who are living in there? So finally, I found out about this school that was being set up by Christian missionaries in the suburb of Pyongyang. And I applied for a job there, and I actually got this job in 2011, which happened to be the last 6 months of Kim Jong-il's life.
And you got a job doing what?
Teaching English.
How controlled was your life on a daily basis?
Oh my God, it was. Well, North Korea is just, the most controlled state. As the recent UN report says, the gravity of the violation is unparalleled to any state in a contemporary world. So from the minute you go in, you will be followed every second. You give up your phone and passports and all that.
You had to give up your phone when you entered?
Yeah, you have absolutely nothing on you, basically, that could connect you to anyone. And then a minder will be with you all the time. You are not going to leave. It's sort of like a package tour in a way. When you have if you can just think of it as a package tour anywhere. Even a package tour, you can go off. But there is, you just basically go from a site to a site to a site. This is why it's impossible to cover North Korea in any, I think, meaningful way that would reveal that place and the people. So we're always getting the sound bites, but what's going on there is probably why everyone is fascinated in North Korea in some sense, right?
So go ahead.
Sorry, it was 24/7 under a watch. My classes were taped, recorded. Somebody was reporting on me. Minders were living in the same building as us, even in the room, possibly bugged.
Did you presume it was bugged?
Yeah. Always. It's so hyper controlled that you are just never left alone, in a sense, even when you're on your own, which is an odd way to be That's kind of impossible to imagine when you're sitting here in Javits Center in New York, right?
Who were you teaching?
I was teaching, it turns out, in 2011. 2011 was an extremely important year in North Korean history because this is when Kim Jong-il died. It was also what they call Juche 100 year. In North Korea, they count the year from the birthday of the original great leader, Kim Il-sung. So that year, all the universities were shut down. All the college students were sent to construction fields in the entire country, except 270 young men aged 19 and 20, and they were, I guess, sort of they were suddenly transferred to this school.
Suddenly?
Well, some of them were already there, but my students had just gotten there 3 months before I got there, and I got there in July of 2011. And so these were the most creme de la creme.
The elites.
Clearly, obviously, everyone else is in the construction fields for building of what they call a prosperous nation. And these young men were selected to sort of, I think almost, the storm's coming because the regime was going to change. And by the end of that year, December 17th of 2011, Kim Jong-il died. And the announcement happened within North Korea and to the rest of the world on December 19th, 2011, and that was my last day in North Korea.
What was that last day like? Did you know
Great final chapter, right?
Did you know it was going to be your last day?
Yes, actually, it wasn't. It was a total coincidence, and I couldn't believe it when I was told that he died. And because I was there, this school was set up by a Christian missionary. When I was told by a colleague that he died, it was a Christmas time, I actually thought we were talking about God. But in that country, it's also another God, which is Kim Jong-il. Because you only have the great leader as the God. I mean,
were your lesson plans controlled?
Yes.
You were given scripts?
Not scripts, but we were given certain guidelines, and you had to get permission for everything a few days before. So there was a certain freedom you could practice within that, which, not certain. I mean, I really tried to find that in order to get to know them really. And I wasn't, it doesn't sound as, I really actually loved them. I fell in love with all of them, and I really wanted to teach them. But it was always conflicting feeling, because if I taught them more than, because they don't really know about the world, a lot of them, and I do. Because I'm from the outside, and they're never allowed out of anywhere. They were never allowed out of this locked compound the whole time, ever. So they had no communication with the outside world. So I was always trying to, in a way, reveal the glimpses of the outside world to them. But it worried me, because I thought if they learned more, what would happen to them? Because North Korea is a gulak nation.
What was the goal of the Christian missionaries in setting up this school?
What is the goal of missionaries anywhere? I think there's only one goal, which is bring God, or so I think that they had their own purpose of getting in to set up this school, which in some way it has a positive and negative aspect to that, I guess, but they were very determined to bring God. It's a part of a missionary purpose. I'm not a missionary, clearly. I sort of went in as one in order to teach at that school and get to know my kids. I mean, I think of them as my kids.
Suki Kim, would they ask you questions about the U.S.? Were they allowed to?
They weren't allowed to, but you know what I found there? Is, first of all, I was born in South Korea, fluent in Korean, and I come from separated families, meaning families on my side had been separated into North Korea, although we're from South Korea during the war. So the horrific heartbreak of division of Korea has always been in my family. So I have a personal, I guess, it's not even interest, it's more obsession and just haunting heartbreak that really, my mother's brother was lost during the war, same thing happened to my